Hi, I'm Sid Deshmukh, and welcome you all to new episode of Sportsy, Let's Talk Sports. This is where we talk about fun aspects of sports and the informative aspects of sports, and we talk to a lot of people who are players or administrators or the companies who are doing a great job in sports industry.
Today on our show, we are going to welcome a guy who started following a football club at the age of 8 and not given up for last almost 35 years after that. And he's a great fan and he's Gunners for life. Kunal Agarwal.
Today, that's going to talk to you about you being a passionate footballer and promoter of the football as an industry, not only at the development level, but you are known as one of the fan to a football club. And I had heard about it from my friends, and then when I met you and then saw the whole thing, I think it's phenomenal.
So first of all, I would say that I'm a passionate sports person. I love sport. I grew up with it thanks to being part of Loyola School in Pune, which had one of the best infrastructures even today for promoting sports, like right from all your Olympic sports like javelin, etc. Shot put, everything was being taught there at a very early age. And football was part of our culture there. Right from the day you showed up to school for the first day. So as far as football is concerned, yes, Loyola played a big hand in putting that passion into me, or putting that put me in that phase where it was all about sport and especially football. And after that, when I was traveling once in 1984, when I was like 7 or 8 years old, my father, he took me to a game at Highbury where, that was my first experience of 60, 70,000 people going crazy. And that whole passion and energy, just transformed me on that night. And, I could never forget that night.
Oh, wow.
And since then, I just became an Arsenal fan. Now, since I've become an Arsenal fan in 1984, I've met everyone at Arsenal Football Club. I've had the fortune to meet lots of players. I've met David Dean, who's now like the former owner of Arsenal, who's like a father figure to me and a mentor. He invites me over for dinner to his home every time I am in London. I now have a box also at Arsenal Football Club where I've where I go and watch a lot of matches. In fact, just before the lockdown, I finished seeing my 250th live game in London over the last 15 years. And I've had a strong association with Arsenal, not just as a fan, but also as helping promote them in India and doing lots of stuff with them. Apart from that, as far as my sports journey is concerned, I've always played sport. Even after I got married, we started this small little league in Ound area in Sindh, which is called Thunderbolts. And there are just two rules that, you just need to love football. And the second was that, just show up. And it was primarily for people, who were above 30 in those days.
Right.
And now, of course, and we've stuck together all these years, and there have been so many members now. And we have our own league, and, we play like a Champions League also. We play like the league also. We play cup matches also. So it's been great going from there. Apart from that, professional, while my family did something completely different, we also, I was instrumental in starting up Bengaluru FC in Bangalore with my relatives, and that took off very well. And, we were part of the I-League, and then we moved on to ISL. Started another club in Pune with the Kalyani group called Bharat FC, which, due to so many reasons of the environment not being right for Indian football, we shut down after a year.
Yes.
And of course, when the environment is right in the future, we come back. So that's as far as the football journey is concerned. As far as sports is concerned, last time we met, I had mentioned that we are building this edX campus in Pune.
Yes.
So that's going a little slow right now because of the lockdown. But that would be an entity or a platform which would combine education and physical sport, and all the other aspects of sport that go around it. Right from sports psychology to sports medicine to sports nutrition, diet, all the things that go on, where courses will be imparted in these fields. So there's a lot happening on that. And apart from that, I'm also associated with an NGO, sports NGO called Go Sport Foundation, on which we have our advisory board as Abhinav Bindra, Pulela Gopichand, and Rahul Dravid. Now there, what we do is that we groom and fund athletes, right? Again, in that, we just don't select the athlete and just give him the money, or him or her the money. We handhold them right from, which equipment to choose, which competitions to enter, how do you groom yourself, how do you speak to the media, how do you conduct yourselves when you're overseas or within India, how do you deal with the associations, the sporting federations, how do you plan your career and plot it. And in that we also give them all the sports psychology help and all the talks that are needed to prep them up and bring them on the world stage. So one of our shining right now, we are actually funding more than 140 of India's elite level athletes across Olympic sports only.
Yes. Yes.
And in that, I would say one of our shining stars has been Kidambi Srikanth, because he joined us when he was 14 or 15 years old from a village in Guntur, and
Right.
an unknown boy, unknown kid with immense talent, and then Pulela Gopichan groomed him so well that last year he became world number one in men's badminton. So that's been a huge success story for us. Apart from that, we are
Yes.
funding and guiding people like Deepak Karmakar, Swapna Burman. All these elite athletes are coming through our ranks. What GoSport also does is also funds literally half of the Paralympic contingent that
Yes.
represents India. So it's not something about that we'll fund only able athletes or whatever that is, but we fund across the spectrum. But again, like I said, we stick to only Olympic sports. So that's as far as my journey with sport is concerned, and it's been a very, very lovely journey. I've met wonderful people across the world, because sport just opens doors.
Yes.
It's just been wonderful.
Excellent. So Kunal, this is a journey to be, I think every fan or every sports person dreams to have.
Absolutely. My son
Okay.
has joined me recently. He's 15, so he's been going to home and away games in England, following Arsenal everywhere we go. We've even been across Europe, following Arsenal in the Champions League and the Europa League now. And
Okay.
it's been just spectacular. Just traveling to these places. When you're in the train from London to any other city going for an away game, the whole train is red, red and white jerseys.
Correct.
Everyone is singing and chanting, and the game, the whole experience of that whole day that goes, just in going with the fans and coming back with them, is just tremendous. It's like an eye opener as to how a sport should be really, really absorbed, felt, seen, marketed. That's something to learn from these guys.
Exactly. Okay. So now, as I ask you one thing, at the age of 8, you became an accidental fan of Arsenal.
Yeah.
How about your son? Was he groomed in Arsenal? And because that's how the
Not
whole legacy
really.
goes.
Not really. See, he's been to lots of other games also where he's seen like, Bayern and Madrid and, playing against different teams, Juve he's seen. So he's seen all those things, but he chose Arsenal because, see, I made him read up a lot on all the clubs. I said that,
That
before
is
you make,
important.
I think you should first understand what it means to be a fan of any club and why are you going to be a fan of Arsenal or any other club for that matter. Like, you don't have to necessarily. My father was not a football fan, but I got hooked because of the atmosphere. And then, I've read a lot about Arsenal, and then I made him also read a lot about other clubs, and then made him choose, that why would you want to follow Arsenal? And the thing he told me, which was very surprising and very eye-opening, is that, one of the things he said that I love the philosophy of Arsenal, where they say that, we will only spend money what we earn. We're not going to live beyond our means. We're not going to go into a credit cycle or, create some debt. And that I felt, is such an important teaching for today's youth, because a lot of the youth I see around me are living on credit. They'll, they want to have a fancy lifestyle. They don't want to work hard, and, some of them are born rich, but some of them are not. And, they want to emulate, they want to, they get into bad habits to try and, buy something or, own something, which they don't deserve because, they haven't earned it. It's as simple as that. So when I heard him say that, I said, you hit the nail on the head. And that's why even I love Arsenal, because it's not just because of the football. What does that club teach you in life? Right. And I think Arsene Wenger was a huge instrumental force in transforming the way people perceive football. The way they see it. Why do they eat, breathe, sleep a football club? Why are they fans? And he revolutionized a lot of things.
I follow Liverpool for many, many years, and in that whole process, but what always struck about Arsenal was Arsene Wenger and the way he has conducted and those glorious years that he had. It was amazing.
Absolutely.
It's like that's what shows it. And I think what your son said is he really meant. I think that what really a fan is supposed to be groomed, and it should not be after glamour. It should be it should go with the philosophy, and it has to be understood. So I think you summarized pretty well. To be very honest, you cut a couple of my questions directly. Questions were around what made you become a fan and what about your son. And because that's how the legacy go. It's what you're seeing in the European or Spanish club is the family start following the tradition, and that's what over 133 years people have become fans over years and years. I think this is.
Well, I know a lot of families in London. In fact, the lady who sits next to me in my box, she has 4 sons. and she's 82 years old, and she's been going home and away. She's not missed a single game in the last 50 years.
Oh, wow.
There are those kind of fans. And, she told me that 2 of her sons are Tottenham fans and 2 of her sons are Arsenal fans. So every day there is a fight in the house. So it's not necessary that, because your family is following, there are people, who follow different clubs for different reasons.
Correct.
And, maybe they grew up in the area, or, their school friends were, Tottenham fans or whatever they are.
Correct.
And, they just got along with those kind of people, and they moved to supporting Tottenham. So I would just differ a little bit that,
Okay.
it's not always that there are exceptions that happen. And,
Yes.
this is a glaring example that in one house, it's like, India and Pakistan, you have 4 kids and 2, support the other country. And it's actually like that. It's worse.
Oh, wow. So no, I think this is great. As I think you corrected the whole notion about the thing. But again, I think as a fan, what it needs, you need to be connected to what happens around, and you need to be conscious enough about why you do that, and you need to accept it in a good time and also accept it in a bad time.
Absolutely.
And
so I'll give you a small example. So in the 40s, in the 1940s, early 1940s, Italian football or Italian football clubs were being used by dictators like Mussolini and, fascists like that to propagate a certain narrative, through the clubs, through the fans, through the club medium. What happened is that, the fans rejected it. So, they were socially aware that, what this club is going in the wrong direction. And, we shouldn't be, supporting any activity of a club that leads to any violence or, any hatred or anything of that sort. So, I'm very happy that, there are fans like that. And generally the average football fan typically understands these things.
I want to ask you, okay, you said you just saw the 250th live game.
Yep.
Which is the game that you really cherish? Okay, this is where the lot of things happen, and probably in your life or the overall community of Arsenal, the fan following, something changed. So do you recall any of those?
There have been numerous occasions where, Arsenal have provided us with so much of joy, so many different emotions during the game, etc. But the one game that I would never ever forget and would stand out for me would be, 6th of May 2018, when that was Arsene Wenger's last home game at home.
Yes.
And I happened to be there, and the club went out of its way to, bring that emotion out of all the fans, by putting a T-shirt on every seat that said "Merci Arsene." They gave him a 22-gun salute because of his 22 years at Arsenal. The matchday program had Arsene Wenger and 22-gun salute written everywhere. In fact, let me show you. I framed everything that I got over there and put it into a frame. So this is how it looks. Can you see it?
Yes.
So
nice.
The shirt and the matchday program, etc. I framed it. This was a game against Burnley on 6th of May on Sunday. And literally, when he came out and gave his last speech and last talk, it was so emotional that literally each and every fan, I could see tears in everyone's eyes. So that was a very emotional game, I would say. Of course, we won that game. But, the whole emotion around it, that Arsene Wenger is leaving, and, he was like a father figure to so many fans, to the whole club itself, to the players, to the management. The direction he took the club in has been fabulous. So that was one game that I would never ever forget in my life.
Since you had got up, I wanted to take a tour. But before that, I have a couple of questions. So there have been so many great players that Arsenal had. It's like you can count it. I think it's a legacy. Like on theory, like Henry to Ozil to Cole and many. It's a great thing. Who do you admire as a player for what they have delivered on field, off field?
On field, off field, see, that's the thing that, Arsene Wenger, and even, of course, the coaches before them, the whole ethos of Arsenal Football Club was about, being a better person off the pitch as well. Yes. So I would say that there are so many players that have come through the ranks, but, in terms of game, in terms of everything on and off the pitch, I would say Dennis Bergkamp for me stands out completely, because the way he played the game, everything about his touch, his vision, everything had to be perfect. And he himself has said that in his autobiographies, etc., that, he would stay for hours and hours after practice would end. And just to perfect that, because he said that I would want even the bounce of the ball to be perfect. When I kick the ball, where it should go and how it should go and in what speed and in how much time it should reach the other player. or whatever the motion that I'm doing or whatever I'm doing on the pitch has to have some purpose and meaning.
Right.
And even off the pitch, he's been so great, helping charities around the world. He's helping football. He's a pro licensed coach now.
Right.
And hopefully one day, there are rumors that he may come back to Arsenal. And I think Arsenal Football Club should use his intelligence and his experience to try and groom the youngsters and blood the next generation.
Okay, so I have another question now. It's like,
Sure.
unfortunately, it's been many years since the last after the Invincibles and the last of the thing. How does it impact the whole fan morale? Because there were few fans that you were in your probably 30s when this thing happened, and a lot of things not happened, but you had a maturity to accept that. A lot of people who started following it in probably in their teens, and then suddenly you see your club is, but it's not achieving what they were expected to achieve. So how is the morale that happens as a fan in the fan's life, and does it affect?
So it's more than that. Like, then you're not a true fan. It's about, it's like supporting your country or your motherland. Tomorrow your country may not be doing economically well, but that doesn't mean that you leave the country or you start badmouthing the country, right?
Correct.
So I would equate it to that, because that's how much passion football brings out of you. It brings out that feeling that, this is something that I belong to. This is a family. And you don't leave your family just because there are things that are going wrong.
Right.
We've had a tremendous success in the past. And it's a cycle, it's a phase. There are
Correct.
People don't know. Now in terms of social media and all, there's so much of awareness. There's so much of instant gratification that all want. But in the past, United have been relegated thrice. They've been not won a title for 50 years in a row. So there have been phases with every club, and every club goes through these ups and downs. And we're in a process of rebuilding. So I have the only thing that I would say to anyone who's on the fence and thinking whether he should or should not, I would say that, take your choice. It's your choice. Ultimately, it's free will. But, whoever you support, whether you support any other club, be true to that club and be true to yourself.
Yeah, that's what my question was. It's like, it's not about Arsenal, it's about any club. If you're
about any
developing
club,
into a fan.
It's about passion.
It's about the passion and how you have to believe in it as a core. And I think that
it's out of the 600 clubs that are competing in Europe, there's one club that wins it, right? So that doesn't mean that you just all the other clubs will never have fans, or they just stop having fans.
I think I'll never. Something coming from 15-year-old, what you explain, I think that will stay with. I think that has to be a really interesting thing to go forward. So request you to take us through the gallery that you have. It's a phenomenal gallery. So, and we can chat on the way, obviously. I think it will be great to hear from you.
I'll just walk you through it. I'll start from the entrance.
Yes.
So basically, when you enter, so this is a sports bar that I built in 2005 as a tribute to Arsenal. It's been designed by an architect from Prague, and he brought in the entire football feel into it. And if you look at it, if you see this, you can see Arsenal FC at the beginning, and I have these things about Arsene Wenger and the changing photos, etc., and all that I took, signed by the entire team. If you can see it clearly.
Yes, I can see it. Yeah.
And then once you enter, you have the Emirates Stadium. You have red and white switches. Red and white. This is a trophy case, where all the football trophies that we've won in India, just playing football in different tournaments. These could be corporate tournaments or, just tournaments that we do. This refrigerator here basically, is painted, hand painted, to show all the league titles, the community shields, the FA Cups, all the other trophies that we've won. So this has been done like that. And this is a bar area where, we stock up all our drinks for our matches.
Yes.
And
good section.
If you see, these doorknobs are also red and white footballs. All the doorknobs are red and white footballs. And there's lots more stuff. Then over here on my bar, this thing I have Victoria Concordia Crescent, which means Victoria, victory through harmony. This is the slogan of Arsenal Football Club.
Correct, yes.
And here I have one of Arsene Wenger's favorite quotes of mine, where he says that you are responsible for the motivation of all the people around you.
Yes, excellent.
And here, these are these bar stools that I have that, that are with the Gunners logo imprinted on them. And this is the logo of Arsenal Football Club that was released by them on their 125th year a few years ago. So I've had the logo done here.
Oh, wow.
lots of directors and heads of Arsenal have visited this place and, had drinks with me over here, presented us with lots of high-end memorabilia of Arsenal, which I've collected all over the world, all over the place. These are Arsenal curtains. These are all Arsenal blinds. The Mercy Arsenal I showed you earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is a air conditioner, which again, it's one Arsene Wenger. There's only one Arsene Wenger. Some of the chants that are there that I've described over there. This is another bar area, another area where we can just sit. Now this is an Arsenal guitar which is handcrafted by a luthier, and it's a single piece Maplewood Arsenal guitar which my wife got it made from him and presented to me a couple of years back on my 40th birthday.
Excellent.
And so this is a really it's a masterpiece. And in fact, Arsenal have invited me over to play a song at halftime, next year. So we're just working that out. Yeah,
I'll be coming on to that point of your the rockstar image of your as well. So
yeah, and then of course there's lots of other stuff. This is the I-League trophy that we won into 2014. Then these are just different stuff, the Arsenal lamps, etc. I've got the Arsenal logo here. Then I've got this Arsenal blinds at one side of the bar that looks into my house. Again, there are Arsenal couches and stuff over here.
Oh, nice.
And then on this table again, like I have, some slogans of Arsenal, 1-0 to the Arsenal. This is the couch where we all sit down and watch matches. And here again, another quote of Arsene Wenger. If you can see, it basically says that a football team is like a beautiful woman. When you do not tell her, she forgets she's beautiful. So this is another one of Arsenal. So there's lots of stuff around here of Arsenal. And if you see this entire trophy cabinet from far, you can see that it's a goal post actually. It's a red and white goal post.
Correct. I can see
and
that.
Inside that, everything has been fitted in.
I think this is phenomenal. So heard about who is Kunal, what's his journey about sports, what it's gunners all the way for him, and a beautiful quote by his son. Now I want to come to the Indian football scenario. It's founding the Bengaluru FC, Bharat FC. Then in Pune we had almost 4 different clubs coming and going. Unfortunate situation about Pune. So how do you think the Indian fan should look at Indian football? A lot of aspirants who want to understand about the football in India, or the players who are looking forward to having a different career in Indian football. So what do you have to say about that?
Given the population and the demographic that we have and the kind of talent that I've seen in India, there's no reason why we should not be competing with the world's best. That's number one. That's a given. Like, our boys can run as fast. They are technically skilled even to that level. They can be groomed into good players, etc. But what I feel is that the environment for Indian football is not right. It's not been right for a while, and the direction in which Indian football is heading is actually heading for a disaster. Because currently we are literally one of the few countries that has 2 leagues parallel running. One is the I-League and the ISL.
Yes.
So that itself makes no sense. The ISL as a concept itself is not self-sustainable, because all the clubs are losing money left, right, and center over there. People are frustrated, and it's only how long that a person can go on pumping money. And you've seen such big clubs, legacy clubs like Dempo, etc., and all shutting down.
Yes.
Goan football has literally died a natural death thanks to bad policies by the governing body. Right. I would not want to name anyone, but overall AIF has not done a good job according to me, and if I'm honest. And see, when the environment is not right and clubs are not mushrooming, you cannot go and blame the clubs. You have to fix the environment.
Yes.
If there are so many clubs who are being vocal about it, and a lot of clubs kept quiet because of fear of political backlash or whatever it is, overall the environment is not right. And the concept of ISL itself, started as more as a tamasha, where there were more of foreign players who were retired, coming out of retirement, to come and have a holiday here. Like you take an example of Del Piero, he was paid crores of rupees. By a team in India, and he played just 27 minutes because he was always injured or fatigued.
Yes.
So apart from that, the newspapers, the media also was writing a lot of stuff about who attended the match in terms of celebrities and film stars, etc., rather than the game itself. So anyone who didn't see the game, as a football fan, if he picked up the newspaper or any article read about the game, it was more about oh, Ritik had come with so and so, and people were here and there's a larger queue. So, as a player or as a person who's taking to the field, I would just feel that, what is this going on? Like the people are here to see me, or are they here to see the game, or are they
Correct.
here to see films? So that heady mix of, cricketers, politicians, and film stars, may work for IPL or cricket, because India is cricket based. But
Right.
for the football, I think it's backfired. And I think more of the money should be spent on grassroots structures, because we
Yes.
don't have an existing grassroots program at all in India. Sport, and I'm not saying this just for football, I'm saying this for every sport. Sport has to be inculcated at a very, very early age
Yes.
at the school level. And that is what the edX campus is all about, introduction of classic Olympic sports at a very early age. Because
Mhm.
if you go to the West, you go to, European countries, or you go to the US, you see that, nobody talks about it as if it's either or. It's only in India that we say it's either academic or sport. You can't
Correct.
do both. It's
Yeah.
just decided by somebody that, you can't do both. But actually, both go hand in hand. And in fact, science has proved, that a student who is a sportsman is a better student, because
Yes.
according to me, there's no better classroom than a playground. The
Correct.
more the kind of stuff that you learn on a playground, it keeps you mentally fresher. Also, it lets you learn more. And I've met people in England who are sports science PhDs in sports science at the age of 28, but are also double England gold medalists in a sport.
Right.
So it's very rare to see an educated athlete in India. And I would say that if education is provided to the athletes at a very early age, and if everything goes hand in hand, we will see longer careers by these athletes, because they will be more educated and well aware as to what to eat, what not to, what substances to take, what substances not to take. And they'll be smart enough to manage their own careers.
Yes. I think very well said, Kunal. I think it is. Yeah. As just from my side, it's like I remember the first final of ISL was the match between Ganguly and Tendulkar, rather than ATK and Kerala. So
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah, and we've seen the getting Ritik involved in Pune game, and it's. I think they spend a lot of money on getting this celebrity endorsement rather than paying doing. I
Push
think
your
that
weight.
one. Yeah, I think personally I feel as well that getting Ritik for one season, they could have taken care of the grassroots for the 2-3 years together. That kind of money.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think it's great to hear from you on these notes as well. Today's session, today's talk was more about as a journey of a fan and a true fan, and also somebody who feels about the game very closely. And I just want to summarize here. It's like, okay, the fan journey is about not glamour. It is about the ethics or the ethos that you believe in. Uh,
And the experience and the passion.
exactly, experience and passion, and you believe in it because you feel like believing it. It goes all the way. There is no one bad game, 5 bad game doesn't make you lose you
Absolutely.
the fan zone of it. The Indian football, yes, I think we have to focus a lot on grassroots development, and that
For
is
any
how the
any
whole
sport
thing
in
goes.
India.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, any sport you have to have look at that. I think cricket is growing because it's like hammered into our head from by media since 80s and 90s. It took that much of time. I think this is the time for other sports to pick it up, and it's good to see a lot of things coming up. At least the people have started thinking about it taking it as an eyeball. There is a life beyond academics and a life beyond a regular job. People start thinking about it. I think that is a good thing. I think the new generation is putting their kids into sports. As Bangalore has amazing. I spoke to Mandar about it. The Bangalore's academy in Bellary is doing good. I think everybody has started it. It should have happened long back. Probably I remember one of the best academies or the grassroots structure was Pune FC 8-10 years back. I think probably the best that we had, other than the Tata
They
Foundation.
also shut down.
Yeah. So everybody had a bad time. I'm sure we are looking forward to the good time. And with that, I just wanted to thank you for this wonderful time and amazing tour. And everything that you say is the passion coming out in every word that you say, and it's Gunners all the way.
All right. Thanks so much. And
Thank you,
cheers.
Kunal.
And enjoy Liverpool. I hope to win the title this year.
I'm just
All
waiting
right.
for
All the
I
best.
just trophy in the hand. Anyways,
All the best.
thanks a lot, and talk to you soon, and stay safe.
So you too.
Yeah, take care.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.